The views expressed by the host on this show documented to be almost always right, 99.8% of the time. Great to have you with us, folks. Telephone number, if you want to be on the program, is 800-282-2882. And the email address, lrushmo@eibnet.com. So I'm going through the stack here of remaining news items to discuss, and quite a few of them have audio soundbite support, so let's just get back to the audio soundbites. Sunday morning on Meet the Depressed, F. Chuck Todd had Ted Cruz on, and among other things, said this.
Let me ask you something Rush Limbaugh said earlier this week about your candidacy. He said, Ted Cruz has fought these guys every day that he's been in Washington, and for a lot of reasons, that doesn't register. Basically, it sounds like he was almost lamenting it, but the fact is, Donald Trump stole your outsider brand. Super Tuesday was supposed to be the day you were going to be solidifying your status as the front runner, and it's not turning out that way. How did Trump steal your outsider brand?
And this is what Ted Cruz responded.
We really saw this on the debate last week. We saw a contrast between Washington deal makers, and this is how we've gotten in the mess we're in now, is Republicans who cut deals with Democrats, grow the debt, grow government, and give away our constitutional rights. A contrast between deal makers and a principled constitutional conservative. Yeah. It was striking when Donald Trump said, Ted, you got to be willing to compromise on the Supreme Court. You got to be willing to compromise on religious liberty. Let me tell you, I will not compromise away your religious liberty rights. I will not compromise away your Second Amendment. And Donald Trump is telling us, if he's president, he'll cut a deal with Harry Reid and Chuck Schumer and give away your constitutional rights.
All right, let's go back to the question here from F. Chuck Todd. It said, sounds like Donald Trump stole your outsider brand. Super Tuesday was supposed to be the day you were going to be solidifying your status as the front runner. It's not turning out that way. Well, Donald Trump has stolen everybody's brand. You know, this race was shaping up before Trump gets in, even after Trump gets in, because nobody thinks Trump is going to go anywhere. He gets in June 16th. Prior to that, it's just rumored he's going to run, but the rumors are being greeted with, no way, he's just negotiating for a new deal on The Apprentice. That's what everybody was saying last summer. And then he did get in and had that speech announcing his candidacy. And I had CNN on while Trump was doing that, and I stayed with CNN. And every commentator they had said, this is the most ridiculous thing. This is the funniest. This is a laugh riot. This is going to go nowhere. This guy's not serious. And then the first polls came in, and the political world was shocked. Now, I'm sure Cruz had a plan. I know what Cruz's plan was. Cruz believes, or believed, well, I'm sure he still does, the 2012 returns 4 to 5 million Republican conservative voters didn't show up. It has been theorized that many of those are evangelicals that opposed Romney for a host of reasons. On religious reasons and the fact that Romney is a faux conservative, wasn't a real guy, but they just fed up with the Republican Party, didn't vote. And it was thought that that was the margin of victory. If those 4 million people had shown up, that Romney would have won. So Cruz immediately, I believe, strategized how to get those 4 or 5 million back to the polls. Well, then the field fills up, and Rubio decides to go, and Jeb is in there. And early on, before Trump gets in, don't forget, everybody thinks Jeb is going to be the guy, and Jeb's money is going to be the obstacle. And so everybody's focused on how to get around Jeb, while Jeb is figuring out how to win without exciting the base. I mean, it was a really convoluted situation. But the Cruz strategy was always to be who he is, the unquestionable, rock-solid, anti-Washington establishment conservative. On whatever issue you're talking, you can never doubt, you can have no doubt that Ted Cruz is your guy. And then Trump's candidacy starts blowing all that up because it took the ideology out of everything. You know, F. Chuck Todd is right in one sense here. Ted Cruz is the only guy that was taking on the Republican establishment of all the Republicans in the race. You might want to throw Ben Carson in there, but he was not an elected official, so he had automatic outsider status, and he had come to national awareness by virtue of his remarks at the National Prayer Breakfast on Obamacare. But everybody else that was in the race, they were either governors or senators or something, and they were all establishment in one way or the other. Ted Cruz was it, and he was the only guy who had been fighting the establishment. He had done it to their face. He goes to the Florida Senate, and he calls Mitch McConnell a liar on any number of issues, from the budget to amnesty to Senate rules. And Cruz had made it plain he was the guy that was going to take it to the establishment. He was such an outsider that even as a member of the Senate, he was hated, despised. And that was always going to be a resume enhancement point. Well, Trump coming in with the force of his personality has upset all kinds of apple carts, including Ted Cruz's. But through it all, everybody else in the race and Trump, there still is only one guy who has actively demonstrated opposition to the establishment, and that's Cruz. But like I mentioned in that comment that F. Chuck Todd quoted to Cruz in his question, and that is, it hasn't registered that that's who Cruz is. And his question was illegitimate. How is it that your outsider brand has not, I don't think, stolen by Trump? It was just superseded or overpowered. I don't know what the word would be. And Cruz has an excellent point here. And Trump has done this 2 or 3 times. It's in a way of disqualifying Cruz. Trump has said that he's hated in the Senate, can't get along with anybody there, and therefore can't make any deals there. I have to tell you, the people that support Ted Cruz don't want him making deals with McConnell. They don't want him making deals with any of those people. They want him going in and blowing the place up. And by contrast, it's Trump talking about the ability to get along with these people, which is a huge contrast. It's in diametric opposition to what people think of Trump being. It's Trump that's out there talking about how he likes Pelosi and Reid. He could do deals with them if he had to. Now, his caveat is, I will win those deals for the Republicans, as opposed to losing those deals like every other Republican has been doing. But Cruz has an excellent point here to keep making if he wants to. If he wants to try to regain the idea, the notion that he is the singular fighting opponent to the establishment, and he's the guy. He can point out that Trump's the guy talking about working with him and making deals with him. And Cruz wasn't finished. Chuck Todd then said, now you've released summary pages of your tax returns, so did Marco Rubio. You said the only reason you released summary pages is because Rubio did. Well, how are you forcing Trump to release his tax return if you only release your first 2 pages? Would you be happy if Trump just releases summary pages of his returns?
Look, it would be a very positive step in the right direction. You know, Chuck, maybe it is the case that Donald, there have been multiple media reports about Donald's business dealings with the mob, with the mafia. Maybe his taxes show those business dealings are a lot more extensive than has been reported, regardless of what the bombshell is.
Wait a minute, Senator Cruz, let me stop you there. That's openly speculative. Do you have any facts to support that Donald Trump has mob ties?
ABC, CNN, multiple news reports have reported about his business dealings with, for example, S&A Construction, which was owned by Fat Tony Salerno, who is a mobster who is in jail.
Okay, so you can make of that whatever you want. Tax returns, I guess they would show if you're dealing with a mob, but mob deduction here, mob deduction there, deduction for working with mob here on this building there. I suppose. They just, look, Chuck can say, hey, it's speculative, Senator Cruz. Well, that's all Harry Reid's was about Romney. Harry Reid was entirely speculative. A friend of mine says that Senator Romney or Governor Romney hasn't paid his taxes in 10 years. Oh, yeah, who? It doesn't matter. My friend told me. Well, who is your friend? It doesn't matter. You need to go asking Romney why he hasn't paid his taxes in 10 years. Media said, oh, yeah, right, good point. And off they went to ask Romney why he hadn't paid his taxes. They are not off asking Trump if he's doing deals with the mafia. They are saying, well, how dare you, Cruz, to speculate like that? Who the hell do you think you are? Show us any proof. And we get the fat Tony Salerno answer.